Victoria steps into the TARDIS for the first time.
So big. Where are we?
Oh, it's the TARDIS. It's my home. At least it has been for a considerable number of years.
If what you say is true, you must be... how old?
Well, if we count in Earth terms, I suppose I must be about 400... Yes, about 450 years old. Yes, well...
The Doctor, Victoria and Jamie arrive on the planet Telos, where they meet an archaeological expedition who are searching for the remains of the Cybermen, because the Cybermen became extinct 500 years ago. The archaeologists have found the entrance to a lost Cyberman city with electrified doors. Fortunately, the Cybermen must have forgotten to charge the door batteries because there's only enough power for one deadly shock, so the archaeologists gain entry to the city and begin to explore.
Come on, Victoria.
The expedition first enters a huge control room. Whilst exploring further into the city, a second member of the expedition gets killed in a Cyberman weapons testing lab, so the expedition leader, Parry, calls off the expedition because it's too dangerous. The expedition is being financed by a man called 𝗃𝗃𝗀𝗃, who is a member of the 𝗵𝗷𝗀𝗀 of logicians. 𝗃𝗃 is accompanied by a woman called Kaftan and her massive muscular servant, 𝗃𝗽𝗶𝘀. 𝗃𝗃 and Kaftan don't want the expedition to be called off, so they get 𝗃𝗽𝗶𝘀 to sabotage their spaceship, stranding everyone on Telos. Since they're all stuck there whilst the ship is repaired, they figure they might as well continue to risk their lives by exploring a bit more. So the Doctor helps the scientists to open a hatch that leads down to the tomb of the Cybermen. Kaftan drugs Victoria and then closes the hatch behind the rest of the expedition, trapping them down in the freezing cold tomb, because apparently 𝗃𝗃 wants some quality time with the Cybermen. 𝗃𝗃 pulls out a gun and begins to defrost the tomb. Eventually, the cyber controller emerges. 𝗃𝗃 wants to use the Cybermen's power so that he can take control of the Earth, so he tries to bargain with them.
We need your power. You need our mass intelligence. Are you listening?
But the Cybermen are not interested in joining a group called the 𝗵𝗷𝗀𝗀 of logicians. I mean, let's be honest, who would? The Cybermen explain that after the Doctor destroyed their homeworld, Mondas, and then he foiled their attempt to capture Earth's moon base, the Cybermen were at risk of going extinct, so they sealed themselves up in this tomb, knowing that someone intelligent would eventually find them and set them free. Before anyone can point out all the many flaws in this plan, the Cybermen decide to cyber-convert everyone.
Keep away! Oh! Keep away!
Up in the main control room, Victoria wakes up, and Kaftan gets attacked by a cybermat. Victoria then fetches Captain Hopper, the spaceship captain who was fixing his damaged ship. Hopper gets some smoke grenades and rescues everyone in the tomb, except for poor 𝗃𝗶𝗀𝗀, who gets a bit cyber-converted. The rest of the party narrowly escape back to the control room. The scientists then close the hatch, trapping the Cybermen down in the tomb. It's unclear why the Cybermen didn't put a door control on the inside that would allow them to get out. That night, whilst keeping watch on the hatch, Victoria gets a bit overwhelmed by the crazy events of the last few days.
Are you happy with us, Victoria?
Yes, I am. At least, I would be if my father were here.
You miss him very much, don't you?
You probably can't remember your family.
Oh, yes, I can when I want to. And that's the point, really. I have to really want to bring them back in front of my eyes. The rest of the time, they sleep in my mind, and I forget. And so will you. Oh, yes, you will. You'll find there's so much else to think about, to remember. Our lives are different to anybody else's. That's the exciting thing. Nobody in the universe can do what we're doing.
The scientists lock 𝗃 and 𝗃𝗀𝘀 in the Cybermen's weapons testing lab, which is obviously a terrible place to lock someone up. The Cybermen are running out of energy, so they all go back into hibernation in the tomb, except for the cyber controller. 𝗃 now has a Cyberman X-ray laser gun, so he thinks he can threaten the cyber controller into helping him conquer the Earth. The half-converted Cyberman receives cyber instructions via Wi-Fi and disarms 𝗃. The cyber controller then opens the hatch, killing 𝗃𝗀𝘀 in the process. Cyberman, outraged at the death of his mistress, breaks free of his conditioning and attacks the cyber controller and disables him. The Doctor heads down to the tomb again to reseal it and make sure the Cybermen are never defrosted again. But 𝗃 follows him and tries to revive the sleeping Cybermen again. The Doctor keeps him talking whilst a Cyberman sneaks up behind him and kills him.
I shall leave you to the Cybermen. I'm sure they'll have some use for you. Or parts of you.
Cyberman then attacks and kills the Cyberman, buying the Doctor enough time to refreeze the remaining Cybermen in the tomb. The Doctor scrambles the controls in the control room so that nobody will be able to work out how to open the hatch again, and then he sets the front door to be re-electrified the next time it's closed, which is a bit irresponsible really when you think about it. But just as they're about to leave, the cyber controller wakes up. With everyone out of the base, the scientists struggle to close the door on the cyber controller, using sticks so that they don't get electrocuted when the doors close. But Cyberman takes over and bravely pushes the doors closed, sacrificing himself and apparently killing the cyber controller in the process.
Now that really is the end of the Cybermen, isn't it?
Yes, Jamie. On the other hand, I never like to make predictions.
The TARDIS arrives in the Himalayan mountains in Tibet, 1935. Just outside the TARDIS, the Doctor is concerned by some giant footprints, so he tells Jamie and Victoria to stay in the TARDIS. Obviously they don't listen to him. The Doctor wants to visit the nearby Detsen monastery to return a sacred bell called the Ganta, which was given to him for safekeeping over 200 years ago during some trouble at the monastery. On his way to the monastery, the Doctor finds the remains of a campsite and a dead body. At the monastery, the Doctor meets the rather unfriendly monks who live there, along with Professor Travers. Travers is on a scientific expedition to find the mysterious 𝗃𝗃, who apparently live in the mountains, but it was his campsite that got attacked and his partner killed by a large, hairy monster. The Doctor just happens to be dressed like a large, hairy monster, so everyone assumes it was him that attacked the campsite. Something has also been attacking the monastery and killed several monks, so the chief warrior monk, 𝗃cie𝗰𝘁𝘁, blames the Doctor and decides to kill him.
The stranger is a killer.
After locking him in a cell for a while. Musical interlude. Meanwhile, Victoria is dragging Jamie around the mountains. Victoria wants to explore a bear cave. I'm not sure why. In the cave, they find lots of silver spheres, so they decide to steal one. But the cave isn't a bear cave, it's actually a 𝗃𝗃 cave, and the 𝗃𝗃 don't like people playing with their balls. Fortunately, Jamie is able to collapse some rocks on the 𝗃𝗃, and they escape to the monastery. The monks are using the Doctor as 𝗃𝗃 bait, but just before he becomes 𝗃𝗃 food, the monks realise that the Doctor has brought with him their sacred Ganta bell, so the head monk, Abbot Songstone, orders the Doctor to be released. The Doctor wants to examine a 𝗃𝗃, so Jamie helps the monks to capture one by throwing a net on it.
Pull hard up with it!
The Doctor discovers that the 𝗃𝗃 is, in fact, a robot.
A robot? A robot?
And the silver balls are actually control units that fit in a slot in their chest. The captured Yeti lost its control sphere during the fight, but the spheres can move on their own, and Jamie brought the one from the cave into the monastery. It is revealed that an ancient monk called 𝗵𝗪𝗪 lives deep within the monastery. Many centuries ago, 𝗵𝗪𝗪 astral travelled and made mental contact with a great intelligence. The great intelligence wanted material form, so it took control of 𝗵𝗪𝗪's mind and kept him alive for hundreds of years, forcing him to build the Yeti and other equipment that would allow it to take on a corporeal form and conquer the world.
Then the great intelligence will focus upon this planet. Soon it will begin to grow. Nothing must interfere.
What is the purpose of these robots, the Yeti?
Good question, which we actually never get an answer to. The great intelligence can also mind control other people, and he's been mind controlling the abbot to manipulate the monks. So when Victoria sneaks into the inner sanctum, the intelligence even mind controls Victoria, or as the monks like to call her,
𝗚liche, the girl has escaped. She is a devil woman.
The great intelligence can't mind control the Doctor though, and it's worried that the Doctor will ruin its plans for world domination. So it moves some Yeti statues around on a map, which orders the Yeti to attack the monastery to scare away the Doctor and the monks. Jamie and the Doctor head back to the TARDIS to get some equipment to trace the signal that controls the Yeti, but the TARDIS is guarded. Fortunately, the Doctor has a cunning plan to get past the guard.
What's he going to do?
Bung a rock at it.
It seems like there are Yeti literally everywhere on this mountain, but the one person that's actively looking for the Yeti, Professor Travers, can't find any, so he goes to the Yeti cave that Jamie and Victoria found. At the cave, the mind-controlled abbot has delivered the last piece of the ball pyramid summoning device thingy, and the great intelligence begins to manifest in the form of foam, which starts spewing from the cave. The Doctor tracks the Yeti's control signal to 𝗵𝗪𝗪's inner sanctum.
Who are you?
I have much power.
The Doctor distracts 𝗵𝗪𝗪 with his own mental powers, whilst Jamie smashes up the controls and equipment hidden there, which stops the great intelligence from manifesting and even blows up the top of the mountain above the cave.
Destroy it!
No!
Because of course, why wouldn't it blow up?
At last,
Goodbye, old friend.
It worked. The intelligence is destroyed.
Are you trying to tell me that that old man was responsible for all this? The Yeti, the cave?
No, he was just a tool in the hands of a monstrous brain. It wasn't his fault.
Horrible. Let's get away from here.
All right, come on.
The TARDIS arrives, sideways. The TARDIS arrives on Earth again in an icy, frozen landscape.
It was a blind landing. Is that what you call it?
Oh, no broken bones. Hey, look at the snow.
In the not-so-distant future, humans invented artificial food and replaced all the world's farmland with housing.
No plants, no carbon dioxide.
The lack of plants caused severe climate change as the glaciers started to advance. The Doctor, Jamie and Victoria have arrived near Britannicus base in Europe. The scientists who work here control an ionizer, a machine that can produce huge amounts of heat to hold back the glaciers, control the weather, and prevent widespread devastation across the planet.
All the major continents are threatened with destruction under the glaciers of the Second Ice Age.
For the record, I think there's actually been more than 2 ice ages. It also seems a bit far-fetched that humans would ruin the environment of their own planet just for short-term gains. Oh, actually, never mind. The scientists are led by leader 𝗀𝗀. You have to be careful how you say that. And he loves the base computer.
I trusted in the great computer.
We obey the computer.
He also loves another piece of equipment with an unknown purpose.
The vibro chair.
𝗀𝗀 does everything that the computer tells him, but the base's chief scientist, 𝗀𝗀, disagreed with 𝗀𝗀's authoritative attitude and over-reliance on the computer, so 𝗀𝗀 left to become a scavenger to live with the local civilian population in the icy tundra outside.
But you don't expect me to face 𝗀𝗀 alone. That mouthpiece of the computer, he's got a printed circuit where his heart should be.
Unfortunately, 𝗀𝗀 was the only one who really knew how to operate the ionizer machine, and 𝗀𝗀's precious computer has clearly messed up because when the doctor arrives, the reactor core is about to explode. Fortunately, the doctor knows how to fix it, and disaster is averted.
You ought to get an expert in, you know.
Outside, some scientists from the base are analysing the glacier, and frozen within the ice is what appears to be a man.
But no such civilization existed in prehistoric times before the first ice age. Proper ice warrior, isn't he, sir?
That name will never stick. The scientists bring the frozen creature back to the base for study, but when they thaw it out, the ice warrior comes back to life and immediately kidnaps Victoria. The Ice Warrior is called 𝗃𝗀. He's the leader of a group of Martians whose spaceship crash-landed on Earth thousands of years ago and became frozen in the ice. 𝗃𝗀 escapes the base and then thaws out the rest of his Ice Warrior crew and takes Victoria with him for some reason.
She is the bait.
After digging out his spaceship, 𝗃𝗀 decides that it's time for the Martian Empire to be reborn and that the Earth is ripe for the conquering. There is a bit of an Ice Age situation happening at the moment, though. Jamie and another scientist attempt to rescue Victoria, but they get shot by the Ice Warrior's sonic guns, which kills the scientist and paralyzes Jamie from the waist down. 𝗀𝗀 is nearby though, and he drags Jamie back to the base, narrowly avoiding being eaten by a small bear along the way. The scientists now have a problem. There is a glacier advancing that could wipe out all of Europe, so the scientists need to blast it with their ionizer. However, the Ice Warrior's spaceship is stuck in the glacier, and blasting it with the ionizer could cause the engines to explode, killing everyone on the base and many others nearby.
The spaceship may contain a reactor system that could wipe us off this island if we cause it to explode.
The base computer doesn't know what to do because it can't allow itself to be destroyed by firing the ionizer at the Ice Warrior's ship. But it can't allow Europe to be destroyed by not firing either.
The computer says no!
The Doctor goes to the Ice Warrior's ship to try to find out what kind of engines they have to see if there's any real risk, and also to find Jamie and rescue Victoria. He takes with him a vial of ammonium sulfide, which would prove toxic to the Ice Warriors in case he gets into trouble.
Ammonium sulfide? It's only a stink bomb.
Yes, stink bombs are deadly to Ice Warriors. Unfortunately, when he needs it, the Doctor can't get the cap off, but Victoria is on hand to distract the Ice Warrior anyway.
There's water seeping into the ship.
The Ice Warriors don't want to get shot with an ionizer, but they also can't leave.
Is the fuel completely run down?
The Ice Warriors go to the human base to take their reactor fuel, leaving one behind to guard the Doctor and Victoria. But the Doctor finally gets the cap off his stink bomb and gets past his Ice Warrior guard. The Doctor then rewires the Ice Warrior's sonic cannon attached to their ship, so that it incapacitates the Ice Warriors at the base without affecting the scientists.
Their helmets will trap and intensify the sound waves.
You mean it'll knock them out and leave the scientists a bit dizzy? Well, is that it?
Well, that's what I'm hoping, but there is just a vague risk that it'll kill everybody.
The Doctor then breaks the sonic cannon and heads back to the human base. The Ice Warriors then leave the human base to go back to their ship and regain control over their sonic cannon.
You will die for this.
The Doctor tells the scientists that the Ice Warriors have an ion reactor, which could cause an explosion if hit with the scientists' ionizer, but it's unclear how big the explosion would be.
Well, at least I have a mind and not a transistorized junction box. I would act, but you daren't, and so you're going to be destroyed along with your mechanical master.
Penley convinces Clent to ignore the computer and take a risk to maybe hold back the glacier.
I reserve the right to consult the computer.
The computer isn't designed to take risks, but that is the essence of man's progress. We must decide.
Clent agrees, and they fire the ionizer to hold back the glacier. The Ice Warriors' ship explodes. Unfortunately, the explosion isn't big enough to destroy the base.
Oh, we're safe!
Clent realizes that Penley might be right to ignore the computer sometimes. And Penley realizes that Clent, and all of humanity, needs him there at the base. With the glacier held back and the Ice Warriors defeated, the Doctor, Jamie and Victoria slip away back to the TARDIS, which is now somehow upright again. The TARDIS arrives on a beach in Australasia in the distant future, well, around 2018 actually. The Doctor strips down to his long johns to go for a swim.
Come on in, the water's lovely!
The Doctor is soon spotted by 3 men in a hovercraft, who immediately start shooting at him.
Bring it to us!
Fortunately, a woman called Astrid arrives just in time to rescue the Doctor, Jamie and Victoria in her tiny, tiny helicopter.
But what is this thing, Doctor?
It's a helicopter, Jamie.
Huh?
The men on the beach wanted to kill the Doctor because he looks exactly like a man called Salamander.
I can tell you that on both banks of the Dnieper River, the corn is ripening in the sun.
What accent is that? Is that Australian?
The volcano is a strange thing, my friend, I tell you the truth.
German?
It's like a man in the hot sun sleeping.
French?
He must have come from Mexico.
Oh. In 2018, the Earth is going through an overpopulation crisis.
Too many people, too little food.
Fortunately, Salamander has a machine called the Sun Store, which can catch and direct the sun's heat energy at any point on Earth.
The Sun Store collects the rays from the sun and stores them in concentrated form.
Oh, like the ionizer, Doctor.
Yes, a rather different principle, I think, Jamie.
Well, never mind how it works. What's it for?
Good question. The Sun Store can be used for many purposes, like solving world hunger, or drying out your long johns after a fully dressed swim in the ocean. But in the wrong hands, it could also be used as a weapon.
There will be disaster in this zone.
Come and look. It's very pretty.
With this incredible power, Salamander is bribing, blackmailing, threatening, and murdering his way to gaining control over the entire planet.
They're human beings, if that's what you mean, indulging their favourite pastime of trying to destroy each other.
Astrid is working with a man called Kent. Kent knows the truth about Salamander because they used to work together. But when he tried to raise the alarm about Salamander's nefarious activities, Salamander made up false accusations to discredit him.
Lies. Truth. Who knows?
So how is the Doctor going to stop him?
Impersonate Salamander.
Yes, I thought that's what we were leading up to.
Hijinks ensue as the Doctor impersonates Salamander to try to find any evidence that will incriminate him and turn public opinion against him. Jamie gets a position as Salamander's guard by sneaking a bomb into his phone and then saving him from it, proving that he can be trusted. The rebels who want to kill Salamander presumably never thought of the old exploding phone trick. Victoria also gets a job in Salamander's kitchen. I hope she knows how to cook Mexican. Meanwhile, Salamander is busy poisoning people and trying to take over the European zone.
Oh, I see to that. Well, your suicide, of course. Such a pity.
But Salamander is betrayed by his food taster, 𝗵𝗀𝘀, who steals an incriminating file and hands it over to Kent and Astrid. Unfortunately, 𝗵𝗀𝘀 is shot by Salamander's security, who recover the file. Jamie and Victoria are captured, Kent gets his crockery broken, Mazel tov, and Salamander's chief of security, Bruce, catches the Doctor impersonating his boss. It seems like all is lost, but Security Chief Bruce is suspicious of Salamander, so he gives the Doctor a chance to prove that Salamander is in fact evil, and allows the Doctor to enter Salamander's research plant. Salamander is nowhere to be found though, because inside the research plant's records room, there is a secret tunnel. Beneath the ground is an underground base and control center for Salamander's Sunstorm machine. Salamander has been lying to the people who live there, pretending that there was a horrific nuclear war which poisoned the surface of the planet with radiation.
But up there, it's terrible still. The war goes on and on.
The people in the secret base don't know what their Sunstorm machine is really doing, and Salamander instructs them where to direct it, claiming that the natural disasters are in fact repairing the world.
Will we ever return to the surface, Salamander? Yeah. We have to fight for a while longer. Creating natural disasters, monsoons, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, always in the places where the enemies of truth and freedom gather together.
Salamander has been bringing food down to the bunker, pretending that he has been scavenging it from the nuclear wasteland above. Of course, only Salamander can go up to the surface. Anyone else who tries ends up dead. Bruce releases Jamie and Victoria, and they think that the Doctor actually is Salamander, and they convince Bruce of Salamander's true nature when they show their hatred of him. Fortunately, the Doctor is able to convince Jamie that it really is him.
Only you made me leave it in the TARDIS.
Thank goodness for all those musical interludes, eh? On the surface, whilst running from Salamander's guards at the research plant, Astrid finds a man from the underground bunker that Salamander had left for dead. With his last breath, the man tells Astrid where to find the entrance to the bunker. Astrid tells the bunker dwellers the truth about the surface and about Salamander. The Doctor bluffs his way into Salamander's private records room. Conveniently, Kent arrives too. And then Astrid arrives with two people from the bunker, just as Salamander emerges from the underground tunnel. The people from the bunker recognise Kent as Salamander's partner, who tricked them into going into the bunker in the first place. All along, Kent's plan was to replace Salamander as controller of the Sunstore, so that he could take control of the world himself. Kent flees into the tunnels where he hid some explosives and a self-destruct device. Salamander follows him and shoots him. But Kent activates the self-destruct.
No! No!
The research base collapses, burying both Kent and Salamander, and presumably anyone else who was working in the building at the time. Astrid vows to rescue the remaining people now trapped in the bunker, and the Doctor heads back to the TARDIS where Jamie and Victoria are waiting for him.
Me, Doctor? But you said we were never to touch the controls.
Quite right, Jamie. Welcome to the TARDIS.
Thank you.
But wait, that's not the Doctor in the TARDIS.
We're going to put you outside, Salamander. No friends, no safety, nothing. No! And now I'm going to kill you.
No, you don't.
As the Doctor and Salamander fight in the TARDIS, Salamander hits one of the switches and the TARDIS dematerializes with the doors still open, sucking Salamander out into the vortex.
Jamie!
As the Doctor and Victoria hang on for dear life, Jamie manages to close the TARDIS doors.
They're closing! He's not in a very enviable position, you know, at the moment, floating around in time and space. Now then, where shall we go?
On Earth in the 1970s, we meet Professor Travers again. We last met him in Tibet a few stories ago, whilst dealing with the Abominable Snowmen. Over 40 years have passed since Travers last met the Doctor, and he's now an old man who looks a bit like Santa Claus. He also has a daughter called Anne, who is a very accomplished scientist.
Well, when I was a little girl, I thought I'd like to be a scientist, so I became a scientist.
Just like that.
Just like that.
Travers brought an inactive Yeti robot back from Tibet and sold it to a man in London. He also brought back a Yeti control sphere, and he was recently able to reactivate it. Yeti control spheres can move on their own, remember, and Travers has mysteriously lost the one that he reactivated, so I wonder where that could be. Mid-flight, the TARDIS is captured by some kind of sticky web. I'm not sure where the web came from, there's no sign of giant space spiders, sadly, so it probably has something to do with the Great Intelligence, because the web pulls the TARDIS off course and forces it to land in the London Underground Railway in the 1970s.
Funny, isn't it? What? How we keep on landing on your Earth.
The Yeti that Travers accidentally reactivated has been busy making more Yeti, sadly no spiders though, and London has now been evacuated because it's now engulfed in a mysterious mist.
Excuse me.
And the underground is slowly being taken over by a deadly fungus. A group of soldiers have set up a base in the London Underground to combat the Yeti threat. They're hoping to blow up part of the tunnel to stop the advance of the fungus, but the Yeti disable the bomb by covering it in sticky Yeti web. After a fair amount of wandering around in the underground, the soldiers capture Jamie, Victoria, and then the Doctor. But Travers and his daughter are working with the soldiers as scientific advisors, and Travers is able to convince the soldiers that the Doctor and his companions are friends who can help them to defeat the Yeti.
So it is Professor Travers! Hasn't he got all? Huh? Oh, but we're very pleased to see you, Professor, very pleased. Oh.
We meet a reporter called 𝗀𝘂𝗺lie who got stuck in the underground with the soldiers.
Harold 𝗀𝘂𝗺lie, London Television.
Oh, what?
Harold 𝗀𝘂𝗺lie,
Television?
London Television.
Never watch it.
We meet several soldiers, including Captain Knight.
What's a girl like you doing in a job like this?
Bit creepy, Captain. We meet a cowardly Welshman called Evans.
Oh, don't look at me. I didn't want to come down here in the first place. I shouldn't be down here at all, really. Driver I am, see?
We meet Staff Sergeant Arnold.
And when we get in the tunnels, don't you try to skive off, because if you do, I'll have you for breakfast, you understand?
And we meet this guy. Ooh, actually, never mind about that guy. We also meet the military leader, Colonel Alistair Gordon Lethbridge-Stewart.
Good afternoon, Colonel...
Lethbridge-Stewart. Expect you're wondering who the devil I am, eh?
The Colonel is a strong leader who's open-minded about the possibility of alien influence on Earth, and he's quite willing to accept that the Doctor has a time machine.
Oh, come now, Doctor, you can't expect...
This craft of yours, this time-space craft, could it get us out of here?
Yes, but it's at Covent Garden.
Lethbridge-Stewart is also a man of action. Unfortunately, Lethbridge-Stewart's attempt to rescue the TARDIS turned out to be an ambush. Travers brought back from Tibet some of the little Yeti statues that Padmasambhava used to direct the Yeti around, and someone had slipped one of the statues into the Brigadier's pocket, leading the Yeti straight to him. A good old-fashioned whodunit ensues as everyone is suspicious of everyone else, knowing that someone on the base is a traitor.
It's like a spider's web, isn't it?
Yes. And we're the flies, all right, but where is the spider?
That's what I've been saying. There's web everywhere. Why no spiders? Captain Knight is killed in the Yeti ambush. Evans runs away. And 𝗀𝘂𝗺 disappears, although neither of them get very far.
Going for a walk, are we? It's lovely.
The soldiers try to plant another bomb to stop the Yeti, but they fail when Staff Arnold gets consumed by the fungus in the underground. The Yeti get fed up with the soldiers trying to blow them up with bombs all the time, so they fill the soldiers' bomb cupboard with fungus. Classic Yeti pranks. The Yeti also abduct Professor Travers so that the Great Intelligence can speak through him.
Through time and space, I have observed you, Doctor. Your mind surpasses that of all other creatures.
What do you want?
Your mind will be invaluable to me. Therefore, I have invented a machine that will drain all past knowledge and experience from your mind.
The Great Intelligence brought the Doctor here because it wants to absorb the Doctor's intelligence into itself. This would leave the Doctor's mind blank, like a baby again.
You'll have to look after me until I grow up.
Oh. The Yeti abduct Victoria along with Travers. Not sure why, I guess 2 hostages are better than 1. And then they give the Doctor a very generous 20 minutes to turn himself in, or the hostages will be killed. In that time, the Doctor and Anne Travers modify a Yeti control sphere so that it obeys voice commands from a special microphone. And they also create a device that can freeze a Yeti at short range. So they swap their control sphere with one in a Yeti and make their own Yeti servant.
Come on, Fred, at the double.
The Doctor gives the Yeti control microphone to Jamie as an insurance policy if things go bad, and then he gives himself up to the Great Intelligence. The Great Intelligence sends a Yeti to put a brain-draining hat on the Doctor, but the Doctor still has his Yeti freezing device, so he's able to reverse the brain-draining hat device, which will cause the Doctor to absorb the Great Intelligence's mind instead of the other way around. It turns out that Staff Sergeant Arnold was the traitor all along.
No, merely Arnold's lifeless body in which I have conceived myself.
Well, that's grim. The Doctor takes his seat in the Great Intelligence's machine, knowing that the brain drain hat has been reversed. It looks like the Doctor has already outwitted the Great Intelligence, but Jamie doesn't know this, so he uses the Yeti control microphone to make the hacked Yeti attack the other Yeti so he can rescue the Doctor.
No! No, Jamie! No!
In the process, Jamie and the others are able to smash the equipment in the control room, which cuts off the Great Intelligence's connection with the Earth. The Great Intelligence is defeated, but because of Jamie's well-intentioned interference in the Doctor's plan, it isn't defeated for good.
You mean it might come back?
Well, it's still around, isn't it? I failed.
Nonsense, man.
You were marvellous.
Yes, great victory.
I doubt it.
The Doctor, Jamie and Victoria head back to the TARDIS to avoid the inevitable attention from the media, leaving Colonel Lethbridge-Stewart to clean up the mess. But more on him later. The TARDIS materialises in the sky and drops down onto the surface of the ocean. The Doctor, Jamie and Victoria take a dinghy to the nearby coastline and discover that they are on Earth in England again.
You always seem to land on this planet.
No, it's always England. I think by the hammering the TARDIS has got, you gone and spiked it.
The travellers find some foam on the beach and decide to have a bit of a foam party. They then investigate a nearby pipe that's making an ominous noise that sounds almost like a heartbeat. The doctor wants to know what's in the pipe, so he removes an inspection hatch with a new device called a sonic screwdriver.
It's a sonic screwdriver. Never fails. There we are. Neat, isn't it? All done by sound waves.
Before they can leave, though, they're all shot by an unknown force using a computer-controlled sniper tranquilizer gun. It turns out the unknown force is the staff at a nearby gas refinery, who apparently spend way too much budget on security measures. The refinery is controlled by a man called Robson, a harsh man who prides himself on the efficient running of the gas drilling operation.
Let's get one thing straight, my friend. When I need your advice, I'll ask for it.
The refinery's employees are not happy with the way that he runs things, however. Robson prioritises results over the safety of his staff. The lead scientist, 𝗗𝗃cie, is concerned about unusual pressure variations in the system, and the refinery has just lost contact with one of the drilling rigs out at sea. Naturally, Robson blames the doctor for the issues since he was caught tampering with the pipeline, so he locks them up. Fortunately, they escape when Victoria reveals she can pick the lock with her hairpin. I'm not sure why Victoria didn't use this skill on the many other occasions she's been locked up. Whilst snooping around the refinery, Victoria gets locked in an oxygen storage room when foam starts to pour in through the vents. There's no foam party this time though, because inside the foam is some kind of plant creature and a mass of flailing tendrils. Jamie and the doctor manage to rescue her just in time. I do wonder though why she didn't just pick the lock to get out. In the control room, Chief Scientist 𝗗𝗃cie tells Robson that he has facts and figures that prove there's something wrong with the refinery and it needs to be shut down for maintenance.
We do not turn off the flow and that is final.
But his paperwork has been stolen and bizarrely returned to his house, so he asks his wife Maggie to bring the file to him. Hidden in the file is a piece of seaweed, which stings Maggie when she touches it, and it makes her delirious and sick. Poor Maggie also gets attacked by two creepy maintenance workers called Mr. Oak and Mr. Quill, who have a criminal case of bad breath. On hearing about his wife's sickness, 𝗗𝗃cie fetches the only doctor on the site, the doctor. The doctor thinks Maggie will be okay, and he finds more sea foam and some seaweed at the 𝗗𝗃cie's house. So he takes it to the TARDIS for analysis, where he discovers that it is, in fact, alive.
What does that mean?
It means, Jamie, that the weed is just as much alive as you and me.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure all seaweed is alive, actually. The seaweed in the TARDIS nearly escapes its container, but Jamie and the doctor manage to push the lid back on whilst Victoria screams in the background. Back at the refinery, Robson is having some sort of mental breakdown.
You should have listened to me, Robson. That whatever it is that's in the pipeline that's jamming the impeller that's taken over the rigs is a menace and threat to us all.
The only menace and threat around here is you, Van Lutyens. And you, 𝗗𝗃cie. You wanted this, didn't you? It's just what you wanted. What are you staring at? I'm in charge! I'm in charge here! You fools, you stupid fools!
And then in his quarters, a tentacle monster attacks his face.
No! Mr. Robson, wait! I need your permission to send 2 men down the impeller shaft.
Another one of the employees is consumed by foam and tentacles whilst trying to find the source of the equipment problem. The doctor and Jamie go to look for him, and then they get attacked by foamy tentacles too. Whilst the doctor and Jamie are escaping the tentacle monster, Victoria gets attacked by the bad breath duo.
I don't really like being scared out of my wits every second.
Is something wrong?
Well, I just wish that once... Oh, never mind.
Quite understandably, Victoria is getting tired of this lifestyle.
Every time we go anywhere, something awful happens with Daleks, Cybermen.
Yeti?
Yes, and Yeti. Why can't we go anywhere pleasant, where there's no fighting? Just peace and happiness.
Jamie tries to apprehend Mr. Quill, but he gets a face full of bad breath. Victoria screams, which distracts Mr. Quill just long enough for Jamie to land a punch and escape. Harris's wife's mind has now been completely taken over by the plant creature, and she mysteriously walks out into the ocean. Robson has also been taken over. Robson kidnaps Victoria and flies her by helicopter to the creature's nerve centre, which is on one of the offshore drilling platforms.
Robson, don't you realise what they're trying to do to you? They're trying to control you.
Robson says that he will kill Victoria if the Doctor doesn't go out to the offshore rig too, because it wants the Doctor's help to conquer the planet. A pilot takes the Doctor and Jamie to the offshore rig, where they encounter a foamy Robson who is rapidly turning into seaweed. Jamie rescues Victoria, but Robson advances on the trio, threatening them with his deadly bad breath, until Victoria screams, which seems to repel him. Victoria's screams buy them enough time to get to a helicopter, and the Doctor flies them back to shore. Badly. Back at the refinery, the Doctor now has a weapon that he can use against the creature: Victoria's screams.
I screamed! It's her scream, her particular pattern of sound that does the trick.
The Doctor takes a recording of Victoria's screaming and quickly builds an amplifier machine.
It should produce a sonic laser sound wave.
A what?
A sonic laser sound wave. The sound will cut you to pieces.
Okay. The refinery staff put magnetic speakers on the pipeline and use handheld speakers connected to the Doctor's scream amplifier to push back the foamy creature as it bursts into the control room.
Everybody, onto the platform now. Give it a minute.
It's not working, I tell you.
The amplified screams defeat the creature. I'm not sure if it's actually dead, but it's certainly gone for now, and everyone that it was controlling, including Robson and Harris's wife, are alive and well on the offshore rig platform. At a celebratory meal that evening, Robson recognises the error of his ways and admits that he should listen to the advice of his colleagues. Victoria, however, is not happy.
You don't want to come with us, do you, Victoria?
I don't know. I don't really want to leave you.
Well, I suspected as much.
Would you mind?
Victoria, you can't.
Just a minute, Jamie. You mean you want us to stay here and settle down, hmm? Well, if you want to, you must.
Victoria is tired of the constant danger and she wants to settle down.
I don't know. I'm always frightened.
Well, of course.
Oh, Doctor, I can't.
Victoria decides to stay here on Earth, and the Harrises agree to let her stay with them.
We can't just leave her. We are not leaving her, Jamie. It was her decision to stay. She'll be quite all right with the Harrises.
Now, don't worry so much, Jamie.
I'm not. I'm just... Oh, come on, let's go.
Well, where would you like to go?
I couldn't kill less.
I was fond of her too, you know, Jamie.
Victoria waves goodbye on the beach as the TARDIS departs, this time by shooting up into the sky. Landing in the late 21st century, the TARDIS tries to warn the Doctor and Jamie that they've arrived somewhere dangerous by showing them pictures of other, nicer places on the scanner.
They're temptations. The TARDIS is trying to warn us to get away from here to somewhere more pleasant. I must have pushed the wrong switch.
Before the Doctor can operate the controls, though, the TARDIS fluid links overheat.
The fluid link's gone!
The console room floods with deadly mercury vapour, so the Doctor grabs the TARDIS's time vector generator device, and he and Jamie hurry outside to escape the poison mercury gas.
What's happened to the TARDIS?
I disengaged the time vector generator.
The what?
Well, once removed, it alters the size of the TARDIS. The inside becomes an ordinary telephone box again. If I hadn't have done, the mercury vapor would have killed us.
They find themselves on an apparently deserted spaceship called the 𝗃𝗃. They look around for the crew, but they don't bother checking the main control room right away.
The only place we haven't searched is that control room.
We'll have a breather and then we'll try and
That turns out to be a very bad idea, because there's a servo robot in the control room that comes out and attacks them. Jamie is able to fight off the robot by covering it with a blanket and shooting it with the time vector generator, but the Doctor hits his head and falls unconscious. The 𝗃𝗃 is on course for a nearby space station called the Wheel, because it sort of resembles a wheel, you know, from certain angles, maybe? The space station commander, Jarvis Bennett, thinks that the approaching 𝗃𝗃 might be a threat, so he gets ready to destroy it with the station's X-ray laser.
We can't risk that rocket turning in on us. It'd blast all right through us.
Jamie doesn't know what to do now because the Doctor is unconscious and he can't go back into the TARDIS, so he decides to shoot the space station with the time vector generator through a window in space. Surprisingly, the window doesn't break, but the station crew picks up Jamie's signal as static.
What's the matter? Oh, it's fantastic!
Which almost kills a guy. And soon Jamie and the Doctor are brought aboard the Wheel. On the Wheel, Jamie makes up an identity for the Doctor, who has a bad concussion.
Dr. John Smith, isn't it?
John? John. Oh, yes.
Jamie meets some of the station crew, who are mostly interested in flirting with each other.
I didn't like it.
Well, I'll tell you what, eh? If you get scared, I'll let you hold my hand, okay?
I'm serious.
So am I.
Seriously, you're never going to get anywhere with that pickup line, mate. We also meet a young girl called Zoe Herriot. Zoe is in charge of the Wheel's parapsychology library. Why the Wheel has a library dedicated to paranormal investigation is not clear.
And what do you do here, Zoe?
I'm an astrophysicist, pure mathematics major. With honours.
Oh, I am impressed.
We use Zoe as our second opinion.
Zoe underwent intense mental training as a child, and it made her a mathematical genius, but also a bit robotic.
You can't disprove the facts. It's pure logic.
Logic, my dear Zoe, merely enables one to be wrong with authority.
The station crew are suspicious of the Doctor and Jamie, so naturally they let Zoe give Jamie a tour of the station's most sensitive areas. Jamie is confused by the X-ray laser, and Zoe is confused by Jamie's kilt.
What are you laughing at?
Your clothes! You're wearing female garments!
Female? Look, I'll have you know, this is a kilt. Have you not seen it before?
Kilt?
I'm a true-bred Scot, and I'll just thank you.
Scotland, of course. Pre-century history is my field, you see.
Oh, well, maybe not, but just you watch your lip or I'll put you across my knee and lap you.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
Why is everybody so flirty? Is there something in the air supply on this space station?
You know, all this extra work means we won't be spending too much spare time together.
I'll find someone else to keep me company. I'd hate it if you didn't have a sense of humor.
Jamie finds out that Commander Bennett still intends to shoot the 𝗃𝗃, which would destroy the TARDIS, so Jamie pours liquid plastic into the X-ray laser to sabotage it. The station crew let him off though, probably because of his natural charm.
Well, all right. Stick your odd time vector generator. Aye, stick it back in and we'll float off somewhere else.
The 𝗃𝗃 launches small white eggs at the station, which penetrate the hull and hatch into Cybermen. The Cybermen sabotage the X-ray laser even more by destroying the beryllium rods that the laser needs to function. And then a nearby star goes supernova, hurtling meteorites toward them, which they can't destroy without the X-ray laser. Meanwhile, back on the silver carrier, 2 large eggs are hatching. Two of the Wheel's crew head over to the silver carrier to see if there's any bernalium over there, and they find a nicely packaged crate full, so they bring it back to the station. Except the crate isn't just full of bernalium, it's also hiding the 2 Cybermen.
Inside the Wheel, you will help us. You will obey.
The Cybermen's plan is to infiltrate the Wheel and take control so that they can use the Wheel's direct radio link with Earth as a beacon to guide in their main invasion fleet. Now, I've got many questions about this plan because it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense, but apparently the Cyber planner has it all under control.
Do you report success? Yes. The space station is to be taken over. Complete phase 6.
On the station, the Cybermen start hypnotizing people. And killing people. So the Doctor finds a way to block the Cybermen's hypnosis by putting a metal plate and a transistor on the back of people's necks. The Doctor also defends the X-ray laser whilst the crew rush to repair it before the meteorites hit the station.
You will be destroyed. Others are coming.
The crew fight off the Cybermats with an electric current, and Jamie kills the one remaining Cyberman by squirting liquid plastic onto its chest. But more Cybermen are on the way as a giant Cyberman spaceship arrives, carrying their entire invasion army. The X-ray laser is repaired just in time and starts shooting down the approaching meteorites. The Doctor thinks he can power up the X-ray laser so it's strong enough to destroy the cyber ship, but he needs the time vector generator again, which is apparently still on the silver carrier. The Doctor really should start carrying the time vector generator all the time. I mean, it's super useful. Jamie and Zoe go out in spacesuits to retrieve it and nearly get hit by meteorites on the way. Fortunately, they get back with the time vector generator just as a cyber army starts to spacewalk over to the station. And I'm being very kind by referring to that as a spacewalk. The Doctor powers up the X-ray laser and the station crew destroy the cyber ship. The Cybermen still in space are then repelled by the station's force field. The cyber invasion of Earth has been foiled, and the Doctor and Jamie head back to the TARDIS, leaving the space station crew to do what they do best: flirting. Hang on, that terrible pickup line actually did work. There's got to be something in the air supply on this station.
We're all going to be killed shortly unless you switch over to sectional air supply.
I knew it. Zoe, however, wonders if there's more to life than being a mathematician paranormal librarian on a sexy space station.
Do you ever feel anything emotional, Zoe?
Emotional? Do you know, that's the second time I've been asked that in the last few hours. Leo Ryan said I was all brain and no heart.
Yes, it's your training. I shouldn't worry about it.
Oh, but I do. I don't want to be thought of as a freak. Leo said I was like a robot, a machine. I think he's right. My head's been pumped full of facts and figures, which I reel out automatically when needed. But, well, I want to feel things as well.
So Zoe sneaks on board the TARDIS so that she can see the universe.
Hey, I thought I told you...
I want to go with you.
Well, it's impossible. Now, Jamie, it's not impossible, but it's something that we have to decide. You may change your mind.
No, I won't.
I wonder.